welcome back to the channel. I'm Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet, and today we're doing something a little bit self-serving. I talked about reacting to my old video about the Splinter Twin ban back when it was banned 8 years ago. And some of my patrons said I should do it, so that's this video today. Let's take a look at young Vince, 8 years ago, sprightly Vince, talking about a ban announcement. This video was released on the 23rd of January 2016, so just under 8 years ago. Just under 9 years ago, sorry, because we're now in 2025. And it's got 778 views, which is much lower than the average view count of the videos on my channel now. Interestingly, there was a Magic the Gathering ad running on this private browser that I've opened it up in. And then I clicked accept cookies or whatever YouTube asked me to do, and they give me an Amazon ad. So that's stuff that in my area of the world and on my IP, people YouTube thinks should be advertised to me on my own videos. Very strange. And by very strange, I mean like just that's just the world, right? My world. Huge corporations like Amazon and Google and Magic the Gathering. Also, shout out to my 4 commenters down here, one of which is an old friend of mine, Rob, who's often on streams. Drift Cowboy and CM Veda. CM Veda used to be a regular commenter, I believe. And Abe of Justice, one of my oldest patrons, also saying, well, it only took 2 years. And Vince seems to have hit the nail on the head in this video. It's got 2 likes 6 years ago. So we came back to this 2 years later and rewatched it. Anyway, fuck this ad.
That make you sing.
It'd be funny as I click the ad now, if you got an ad as well.
This is how to get in shape fast.
If you want to drop this.
Okay, this is a much better ad for me. I've been watching a lot of fitness content as I started going to the gym regularly last year. So for them to send me body type V-Shred ads, I mean, V-Shred is, I believe, a complete charlatan and a scam artist, but that makes more sense.
You might think this would take years to learn, but I'm going to teach it to you in 60
seconds. Let's skip
Watch
this.
Visceral.
Well, hello boys and girls, I'm Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the interwebs, and I'm going to talk to you about the modern ban list changes.
Okay, I look young, I look sprightly. It was 8 years ago, that's a long time ago. I was in my late 20s there. I say interwebs, which is something I wouldn't say in the modern day. That's my old house, that's my old shelves, that were the backdrop for my videos for years. It feels like a really long time ago since I moved into this office, which has a much less interesting backdrop, but more of a focus on me, I guess. But it's funny because it wasn't that long ago, and like that was the office in which I used to do remote dice removal with Brian as well before I started going out to see him face to face and such. Yeah, it's a blast from the past to see it. Whenever I click an old video, I get jump scared with things that I don't have out as much anymore. I've got a lot of Star Wars memorabilia on there. I've got video game stuff, BioShock, Half-Life 2, my favorites of all time. An issue of Batman Year 1, a whole shelf worth of comic books or trade paperbacks, graphic novels of Marvel and DC. A lot of there'll be X-Men, mainline DC and Batman on there. Some philosophy books, so I'm a dork. Some novels back there, mainly science fiction and such. Alex Garland, Philip K. Dick. I think
It's been updated and
there's a Battle Royale and a copy of American Psycho behind my head as well if you want to cancel me. Battle Royale's not cancelable, and neither really is American Psycho, but I guess some people will see, and correctly so, a lot of people who love American Psycho have really problematic opinions of Patrick Bateman. Just an interesting thing that I wouldn't have in the background now because I can't be bothered with the fucking online discourse around it. Same with comic books, to be honest. I'm sick of online comic book discourse. Anyway, you've clicked this primarily about Magic and Splinter Twin and shit, and maybe a bit of nostalgia from my old videos. Let's carry on.
modern has been shaken to its very core. I mean, we were all expecting some sort of bans that would affect Amulet Bloom as a deck and Grishel Shoal as a deck, because everyone thinks they're degenerate fucking shitty decks that only wankers play. No, that's...
There's me being very judgmental about what other people are playing. I guess that's a running thing on the channel anyway. If we lift the curtain a little bit, I've always been that way, as it's fun to do that, even if I don't feel that way quite literally. Grishel Shoal is now dead, because since this video, Simian Spirit Guide got banned, so you can't really reanimate a Grizzlebrand really early, draw your whole deck, and then Lightning Storm people to death. That was kind of like the Turbo Grizzlebrand decks that existed. I actually enjoyed playing them on the channel probably a year or so after this. And Amulet continues to be one of the best decks in the format, even though Summer Bloom was banned at this point. Or Summer Bloom banned in the announcement before or after this? I guess we'll find out more.
I said I was considering playing Amulet Bloom for a little bit. Guess I'm not now.
Funnily, I had considered getting into Amulet Bloom. A friend of mine actually did after Twin got banned. Shout out to Teo there. But I never did, even though the deck just continued to be a powerful force in Modern in spite of the Summer Bloom ban, which is interesting.
So the actual bans, Bloom got nerfed really hard. Summer Bloom...
So Amulet Bloom got nerfed really hard, I think is... Well, it's true, because the deck was fucking absurd with Summer Bloom in it, to be honest. But really it got less of an Earthen Twin that got like, you know, nuked from orbit. The Summer Bloom you see there, this copy here that I've got off Google image search, this was long before either A, Skyfall existed, or B, I was aware of it. And Skyfall was a great resource, if you didn't know, for downloading high resolution card images. So if you are looking to make Magic content or even just share cards online or talk about them in social posts or whatever, use Skyfall. Pretty much the website that I use daily, the best Magic website around.
Bloom has been taken away because the fact that it's a very good ramp spell upsets Wizards a little bit. Personally, if I was going to ban cards from the deck,
I think I was a bit dismissive there. Hang on, what do I say next?
I ban one of two cards. I'd either ban the Amulet of Vigor because it completely destroys the edge of the deck, and that way things like Azusa and similar cards to Azusa Exploring and Summer Bloom later on won't break the card again and break that deck. That would get rid of it for good if they wanted it dead entirely. However, if you do want it dead entirely, perhaps ban Ancient Sterlings. It would nuke the deck and
Okay, so I say Amulet, and I'm like, I don't agree with that because the deck would have been gotten absolutely nuked from orbit and would not exist. And then I go on to like finalise my sentence by saying, if they wanted to kill the deck. I think Ancient Stirrings was an absolute hot pick for getting rid of, for neutering Amulet Blue for a very long time. Weirdly, I don't think the deck even plays Stirrings anymore and hasn't for quite some time. And I don't think it's a better ban than Bloom. I just disagree with old me here. But I've also got the benefit of 8 years of like after the fact like foresight. Not foresight, sorry, hindsight. So I think I'm in a bit of a better position to make this judgment than young Kenobi here. Also, I still own that shirt. That shirt was ancient at that point. It's a Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos shirt from release. It's damaged in the neck. You can see it even in the video. It's still damaged now. I wear it on rare occasions because I don't want to damage it anymore. I love that shirt.
Search power and making it a little bit hard to combo off, and it also has some splash damage on things like Tron, and Tron is getting far too many fucking toys to play with, so it'd be nice to sort of, you know, neuter its power ever so slightly.
Interesting that I'm talking about like damaging Tron here, because Tron has been like omnipresent in the format forever. I think it's less seen now. Yeah, I mean, Tron doesn't even make it in the top 15 decks on MTG Goldfish when we look at metagame share. The thing is, at this point in time, like, Modern Horizons 1 was but a twinkle in the eye of Wizards of the Coast's power creep department. Not a real department, but might as well be at this point. So Tron was like the deck that constantly abused anything big and colourless. 8-mana Ugin was probably maybe a year before this. When did 8-mana Ugin come out? 2015 is the date on the bottom of the card, so the year prior to this, maybe even 2 years. Sometimes you have the later year because of printing issues and stuff. Either way, there was this constant thing that like when something like Ugin came around, the Tron deck would just pick it up and run with it, and it always felt like it got good toys because Wizards of the Coast would obviously go back to the well of reprinting colourless cards because it's just part of the game. And we see this very strongly in the One Ring, which was the card that was propping Tron up, or Eldrazi Tron variants in Modern up until recently. So Tron was one of the better decks to be able to just slam a jam a ring and benefit from it. And I guess that's testament to the fact that now that Ring has gone, Tron's appears to drop off the metagame percentage shares, pulled through from 5-0 leagues and challenges. So it's interesting that like Tron may still have been relevant, maybe if I reacted to this like before the One Ring ban. But then again, I would have done that because Splinter Twin came off the ban list around the time of the One Ring ban.
In addition to the banning of Summer Bloom, we also have an absolute shocker, something everyone was surprised to see, which is the banning of
I'm so like down to earth, like you're leaving my errors in. That's not why I do it. I still do it now sometimes because I just think they're funny. I even scoffed a little bit then. I guess maybe I was more charismatic back then than I gave myself credit for. I guess I've just got worse with age. Who knows? Oh.
I was actually asleep when the bands were out.
Please note there is music here from Mario, and this is music from is this Animal Crossing? I believe this is Animal Crossing. Probably taken off the Smash Bros soundtrack. Used to use that stuff a lot back then. I still use it semi-regularly now. I try to use less copyrightable music, not to have all my ad revenue stolen by Nintendo these days though.
I was trying to get some lie-in on Saturday, and a friend of mine texted me, waking me up, and I woke up in shock and horror, and my girlfriend was like, what's wrong? I went, they've banned Splinter Twin! And she was like, oh, please fucking shut up about Magic and go back to bed. Basically, Wizards have explained that they want
that story is true. I still remember waking up early hours, not like middle of night, and checking my phone to see the message from Teo saying Twin had been banned, because Teo claimed everything got banned out from under him. In reality, he would only play the most aggressively oppressive things and then get surprised when things get banned out from under him, because he I tell you, if you're watching this, it's really funny because I'm going to say it. You used to chase the best deck in the format to substitute for actually doing any effort towards practicing the games or being any good at Magic. That sounds really harsh, but I think deep down he knows it's true. It's quite a few metagame chasers, right? Like I think metagame chasing is a natural part of all games, but some people do it just because they think the deck will carry them, and sometimes it does, right? It just smashes decks that are far weaker than that. But the weird part about the story that doesn't make sense to me is that I'm talking about on a Saturday. I must have got my days wrong because see, I'm assuming the twin banning was on a Monday. Yeah, it was a Monday. I looked it up. So I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about here. I'm basically fact checking in my own story here, I know, but I must have got my days mixed up when retelling the story because the story is absolutely true. Not even, okay, it isn't blazing to bits. My wife didn't tell me to shut the fuck up. She just shrugged it off and went back to bed. But yeah, I must be getting the day wrong.
Modern as a format, and in order to do so they decided to ban the premier sort of combo / tempo slightly controlled deck of the format, Splinter Twin. Twin has been a prominent force in Modern since its inception, and some people even argue it keeps the format in check. Personally, I think it will be nice and refreshing to have a format without Splinter Twin, at least for a short period of time, but I can't see Splinter Twin remaining banned for all that long. I think it might be wrong to keep it banned for that long. And if
That's interesting. I talk about a breath of fresh air, which is very fair. Splinter was a prevalent deck, like I said. Chewing through my words back then, even more so than I do now, I think, because I've always been a bit of a word chewer, if you haven't noticed. Yeah, the deck was prevalent and very heavily played. It had a bad matchup into Juns, which sort of kept it in check, but it kept some of the more obnoxious glass cannon decks in check, because what Twin tends to do, or the argument is, that it encourages people in the format to have something to interact with on turn 3, removal spells, hand interaction, or similar. You can't just lol, face roll, slammer jam your combo if your opponent's going to untap on turn 4 and just kill you, which is what Twin can do. There's an argument they would do that to current Modern, but it doesn't really feel like that's happening. At least it wasn't happening last month when I was playing at the beginning of December. Maybe it will over time. But also, the power level of both threats, combos, and interaction has escalated significantly since Twin's banning, and thus that's probably the reason we haven't seen Twin be as prevalent as it once was, because it just doesn't pair up very well in terms of speed and efficiency. Trying to put an enchantment on your shit creature to combo kill someone, then having that get stopped and blown out means that not only are you playing bad cards in your deck, but you played your bad cards and they haven't been replaced. Unlike most modern card design that will slam into play and immediately accrue you some sort of value or just be difficult to deal with. Either way, I don't think my original point of breath of fresh air is a bad thing. But I think that it can't be banned for long was super interesting. It took them 8 years to come around. Is that long in the grand scheme of things? It feels long. Looking back at how young I look in this video, it feels like a fucking long time.
If someone's telling you it's because it's an uninteractive deck, then they're a fucking idiot and they have not played enough Modern.
Yeah, let's fucking go! I agree still to this day that Twin was a very interactive deck. Why do I say this?
Twin was the most interactive of all the combo decks in the format. You tell me that next time Ad Nauseam just fucking kills you out of nowhere and you have no way to interact with it.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so putting an enchantment on a creature and turning on, making all creature move, making your average Doomblade or Terminate style effect actually a viable way to fight one of the better combo decks in the format was just a good thing for promoting interactive Magic. The example I give there, Ad Nauseam out of the, it's not Tendrils, that's the Legacy deck, of Ad Nauseam Lightning Storm sort of deck, which does everything on the stack and blanks all your removal spells in game 1 and a lot of your interaction spells, was far less interactive but continued to be a tier 2 deck. It had lower win rates, I guess. But yes, the uninteractive, they're just going to untap and kill you thing was complete bollocks if you played it on the fact that your opponent who's playing Steam Vents is probably on Twin. I hold that opinion back then, I hold it now. I'm glad little young me said that.
So Splinter was never really an issue, and it's supposed to have a favourable matchup against Tron, which in some ways keeps that monstrosity in check. Now,
I had a lot more hate for Tron back then, but I think it was part of the meme. Fuck Tron, Tron killer, and all that sort of stuff was a lot of running jokes back on the channel back at that point. Did Twin have a favourable Tron matchup? Probably, because Tron didn't have a lot of ways to instant speed kill creatures that they're flashing in an end step to tap one of your lands and stuff. So I think that probably was true, but I honestly can't remember if that was the case or not.
A lot of people believe that with Splinter Twin gone, Tron will run rampant across the format. However, one of Twin's sort of predators was the Green Black X decks, especially Junk with access to Path and Block Decay. So without Green Black X being able to prey upon Twin, and it being shit on by Tron, because it is one of the worst matchups against that deck, then perhaps Green Black X might fall to the wayside and just be a bit of a fringe sort of tier 2, tier 1.5, tier 1.5 deck. So perhaps Tron won't get to have its cake and eat it.
I'd have to fact check stats for tournaments and challenges and similar to see how quickly Jund fell off. But This banning, like, I remember after Twin went, there was quite a lot of Grixis. Tasigur became a bit of a thing that people played, just because the Delve cards were good. Treasure Cruise was released when? 2 years prior to this ban. So actually, no, the Treasure Cruise coming and then going and making Delver and making Storm better and stuff was 2 years prior to the Twin banning. God, it's crazy how things get muddled in your head. So I'm not too sure about how true that was, but we can now see that Jund is not really a thing in Modern anymore, right?
Hex falls to the wayside and there's no Splinter Twin either, then perhaps some of the more aggressive decks can actually rise to prominence to counteract against Tron. We've got things like Affinity, Infect, Bubbles to an extent, Zoo and Burn, and then other aggro decks like, mono white shit rares that no one likes.
I love it. I love it. That was my identity back then. Is it still? I don't know. I don't play as much. I think all those points that I made there were pretty valid about the new or existing decks rising up and filling in the spots. Like Affinity has had its day in the sun multiple times in spite of mock level bans and similar, and then like evolved into being hardened scales and other things like that. So I think there was gaps in the metagame that's Twin left that did get filled in by those decks, especially the aggressive decks, like I said, the ones that made less likely to have a removal spell on hand for a Deceiver Exarch. That said, it's just weird that reacting to all of this now, and a lot of this stuff is all distant memories now that Modern Horizons 1, 2, and 3 has made a lot of these decks not exist in remotely the same way as to what they existed back then, which is fine. Like, it has been 8 years, we can't bemoan that, but it does, bring about some nostalgic longing for days gone by.
It all depends upon how the meta adjusts and people actually start playing. In all fairness, we won't really know until the Modern Pro Tour that's coming up, so I'm going to personally hold fire until seeing the Pro Tour to see how we're going to work in a post-Twin Modern. I think it's probably best as well if you think of buying into a new deck, changing your Tron to Escape Shift and things like that. I would wait. However, on top of
Good advice from me. Wait until you see some results before you start buying into a new deck, because that new deck might not be good within a new shifted metagame. God, I've always been a wise soul.
Boys, the banning of Twin is open to quite a bit of criticism. The cynical among us might suggest that it was banned through the need to sell packs. If Tron and Mono Black Eldrazi and decks like that are rising up and Twin's a favourable matchup, ban Twin out so the decks have a heyday, and that means people are going to buy the new packs to get the colourless lands and the new Eldrazi and that sort of thing, and it will shift more product. Wizards want you to chase those rares, especially that fucking stupid Pyroclasm effect, which is really good because of that's return, which is going to see
hardly sees that much anymore. It was a playable, very playable card out of the sideboards of for Tron. And I think Amulet might have played it at some point too. I mean, it now plays the 4 mana, 4 damage Storm's Wrath or whatever. I don't know if I agree with this idea that trying to sell packs via banning to make Eldrazi, the Eldrazi decks that came out of Battle for Zendikar better. I guess so. I mean, this was long before the days of artificial rotation through the powering up of cards in Modern Horizons, so maybe if someone said that to me now, I probably would have just barefaced said no. I don't think the banning of Twin was to sell packs. The fact that Young Me is saying it right now, and I forgot I'd said it, is really interesting because I'm not quick to be like, Young Me's an idiot, but Young Me was an idiot in some ways. That said, the Twin banning was kind of fucking strange. I never thought it was right to do so at the time. I have since then and now had videos where I'm like, I don't know if unbanning Twin is a good idea because Twin might be too good when it's got access to Force Negation and 3-mana Teferi and stuff. Proof in the pudding is that those cards don't really make it that good in current Modern either. Interesting that Cosmic's Return was really good into decks that I like to play, so there is a history of me bemoaning the cards that are good into decks that I like to play. That said, I do not talk about Cosmic's Return needing a banning, by the way. People talk about how the only reason I want Fury Ban was to make my shitty creature decks better. It was part of the reason, but I don't normally try and bemoan the bans of the things that are good against me. Dread of Night has wrecked me in many a Legacy game over the years. I don't want that banned. Plague Engineer, I've never asked for it to be banned. I just thought it was a mistake that it got printed, and so on.
To playing the red-green Eldrazi deck, but they put it in Mythic for some reason. So again, these sort of things do culminate together to create a probably cynical view that Wizards are just trying to sell some products. Now,
I'm right there that this being at Mythic was strange. It does feel like a rare.
I don't necessarily agree with that. Others, like myself, I just think
I'm doing a straw man argument for the purposes of conversation. So I didn't agree with it then, and I don't agree with it now. Good old Young Me, even if I should have maybe done that as a precursor to that conversation, as opposed to saying it, maybe being like, what the fuck am I talking about? And then saying it afterwards.
it's a nice, healthy way of diversifying the format for a Pro Tour. They probably don't want another Twin deck winning it.
That's fair.
So, I mean, banning it out will stop that.
The one big criticism I'd have for this old video, and it makes me think about how I make these kinds of videos now, is that I don't actually read out any of the rationale or reasoning from Wizards of the Coast. In some ways, in the modern day, I don't do it because it feels like it's part of the overarching narrative and that everyone knows what's going on. Everyone knows that the One Ring's a problem. But from a historical perspective, it would have been good if I had mentioned that because, you know, the famous line that I've reiterated over or reset over the years is, in the interest of competitive diversity, Splinter was banned, which feeds into that idea I was talking about them wanting the Pro Tours to be more varied in deck representation, but also that, and this is still part of point A, is that it's a better historical document if you can go back and watch this 8 years later and get the full picture without having to Google it or draw upon my own memories. And then in the modern day, and for point B, when I'm doing this for future videos, I probably should have this so that people who are coming in who don't understand anything about modern, they just want to know what's going on with the bands, need to get more context. I think I'm better at that these days, where I explain things in a way that's good for new, greener players. I don't assume everyone knows the same amount that myself or my more enfranchised viewers do, but it's just interesting seeing that happening in real time in an old video as well.
Personally, I just really hope it doesn't put new players off from buying into modern decks. Of course, your deck might get banned at some point. If they banned Aethervial simply because D&T had started seeing a lot of play and was doing well, perhaps in this new meta where it can beat Tron, I'd be pretty pissed, and I understand the saltiness. But please don't let that put you off. The players that are complaining that they need to throw their twin decks in the bin now that Twin has been banned are being fucking stupid. The whole deck is still worth a shitload of money, only your exarchs and your twins are going to drop in price.
Not anymore, it's not, with the way that reprints have gone and power creep, but at the time it was true. The Snappies, the Golden Tarns, and the Steve Vents are still worth money. A funny point to consider here is that I'm talking about how I'm scared bans might scare people off from playing Modern because of cost, when the reality of the current game, 8 years on, is that bans do this less, or far less significantly, should we say, than the ongoing power creep of straight to modern designs and general power creep within the game. You're more likely to have your deck made obsolete and thus a useless investment via that power creep than you are from a banning and validating your deck in the current game. I think that's just a really interesting shift from literally 8 years ago. When did that shift happen? Well, it's basically during the Fire Design era, during like War of the Spark onwards, and Modern Horizons 1 being the real like catalyst moment. God, catalytic, what does that even mean? I'm leaving that error in like I do with the ones in the video we're reacting to. Either way, Modern Horizons was the catalyst for this.
Nice transition to Delver decks, Grixis decks, Scapeshift decks, half it goes into Storm, then you've got Blue, White, Red, Obscure, Rug, Tempo decks, and of course the wonderful Blue Moon if you want to just really fuck those Tron players up. So Twin players, wipe your cheeks with that salt.
Won't stop mentioning Tron.
Because Twin's probably going to be back in a year or so. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi. Subscribe for more
A year or so? Fucking hell, yeah, I guess so.
magic content in the future, and in the meantime you can watch some more of my videos. I'll put a video up over my face right now that you can click on to watch, what will I put here? Maybe some modern gameplay, or maybe some cube gameplay, I don't know. I'll put a video there. What I'll put there, I don't know. I'll just see what I feel like later. Anyway, look at that video, watch it, look at my fabulous beard.
A bit thin.
And yeah, thanks for watching, bye.
Higher in the cheek too. That's really interesting. I could have put cards over the screen right there for you to click on, what I can't do anymore because YouTube has changed itself. And the music in the background, if we go back to talking about the channel and me, you know, this is what this is all about really. It's all about me. That music is by Talkboy Arcade. Shout out to Daniel, an old school friend of mine who did just did a theme song for me back when I was fucking unknown and shit. He used to do chiptune music. And also, interestingly, love that song. But also, interestingly, there's some Arbiter gameplay. Fucking hell, I haven't changed, have I mentioned Modern and Cube too, my two favourite formats of that time and probably of all time if we really collate it all alongside some Legacy. Acacian Javeliers in my hand there, which I think I was playing into a lot of Lilianas at the time. Weirdly, I was thinking about Acacian Javelier just this morning while I was eating breakfast. It's so strange that Acacian Javelier has come up today twice. That is bizarre. I'm younger, my beard is higher. I think what I'm saying is still valid, which is pretty cool. I'm not enunciating my words properly enough. I'm not projecting my voice enough. And my microphone quality is a lot lower too, as is the lighting and the camera. But it's still just Vince enjoying and loving Magic and wanting to share that thought about metagames and formats and gameplay and older formats with his viewership 8 years ago. I hope I'm still providing the people who have watched that video or remember those times in that house and that office. I hope I'm still providing you with something going into this year. December was rough. December was a really rough month for me. Several months, actually. The back end of 2024, if I'm honest with you, kind of sucked. and I've had some bad news coming into this year too. So I'm going to continue to try and hopefully provide things that are interesting and fun and thought-provoking and amusing and entertaining going into this year as I enjoy magic and the other hobbies and things that I share with you on this channel. Thanks for coming with me with a little look back on some old content. There'll be less self-important videos about myself coming over the next weeks and months. Hope you're along for the journey. I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.